I'm Shane.
And I'm Bo.
We are your Kentucky Fried Critics.
Season 2!
That's right, we're still here. Episode 2, Season 2. E2S2. Or S2E2.
S2E2.
They usually do the season first, right? Like, for all those people who have ever pirated a show off the internet, you know what we're saying.
What we're doing.
You understood.
torrent people out there.
Yeah, you understood instinctively. Well,
Sounds
even
like
before
a cool
that,
robot
well,
name.
even before that, Kazaa and
and
LimeWire and
all that-
Napster,
yeah, all
they
that
all
shit.
used to. Because again, you had to abbreviate it as small as you could to make sure people,
so they could
read it without having to
drag this thing across the screen.
We're showing our age hardcore with that one, right? On that, I think we're ready just to get into everything, but just as a quick reminder, if you were already here for the last episode, our first one of season 1, you already know this. We're not wasting our time on the socials. I don't want to say wasting. We're not spending the time on the socials. We still think they're important. We love them. Every now and then we'll throw them in when need be, when they seem important.
But you know where to find us by this point.
And it's also in the description. Like, you can, if you're here.
Every YouTube podcaster ever.
If you're here, you can find it. Whether you're listening to us or on YouTube, however you're partaking of this, you can find
your
this.
Consumption may be.
Yeah, you'll definitely be able to find this stuff. So we just figured we'll start getting into it. Again, the other thing to make sure, in case you are not aware of the changes, is that we're not doing scene by scene anymore. We're just we both realize that we're comfortable with our personalities.
And we talk way too much when we do it that way.
Now that we're comfortable, our personalities come out and we're trying to hit the scenes. And when you try to do both, you lose it.
Every scene, I'm cutting a promo on how good or bad it is.
Yeah. We both just got to where we feel comfortable talking.
It reminds us of 5 other movies.
So in being able to actually tell you guys about those things, we were like, okay, we're gonna have to cut down doing this.
Yeah, we have to shorten it up a little bit. Change the format.
And so before we get too long-winded here and take up just as much time as we would have with our socials promo, I'm going to stop. Bo, go ahead. Yeah, it would be exactly something we would do.
It totally
for sure.
would.
Bo, go ahead and tell us the beer.
Onward and upward. We're going to go ahead and get into the beer for today. It's Warped Wing Brewing Company's Flyer Red. If you looked at the can, it immediately makes you think of the Radio Flyer wagons. So what better goddamn movie to do than Radio Flyer?
And again, this is an American lager from Ohio.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It says down Dayton, Ohio. Nice.
We're trying to expand our a little bit of our tri-state. Usually we have Kentucky, Indiana, but we're trying to get to some of the easily drivable places to get some new stock of beer options for us here.
When we run out of shit in the north, we'll start going south. We'll start hitting like Tennessee and shit.
Yeah, like Bo already mentioned, we're doing Radio Flyer. I guess that's one of those things. If you weren't here for the last episode, you're not aware of. There's no longer a secret, so there was no grand presentation to you that's what we're doing, because you probably if you look at socials, you already seen it. You already knew this.
The game is ended. It was a good season of
we might bring it back for special things. The first thing I think we need to say before even talking about this movie is, yes, we are aware there is some heavy topics and themes in this movie. I guess, as the kids would say, trigger warning.
Yeah.
Right before we get started.
Find your safe space and in your safety blanket. Everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah. Well, that being said,
if you made it through Clockwork Orange with us, you'll make it through this one.
Well, and again, like, we did that one and we talked about in depth the crazy scenes, because that's how we still did things. Now that we don't do that,
we don't have to do that.
Yeah, we're going to tell you right now.
Much better.
We'll do a real quick synopsis in just a moment. First, we're not abandoning everything. So before we start about the movie, we're going to
who's in it, who
made it, and who's in it. Because for this movie, there's some
wild shit,
wild trivia for it. Again, we always tell you, and I guess we'll always remind you, because it just for any new people that show up, we are not actually director people or writer people.
I
really.
rarely pay attention unless
it's something that's so big that their name is everywhere, right?
everywhere,
Like when it's shoved in my face, obviously I don't ignore what's shoved in my face. But if it's a movie where, like it's buried on the movie poster at the bottom and hidden
And
smaller font than the actors,
especially when it's a movie I haven't seen since I was a kid.
yes, there are reasons why I'm not gonna remember something.
I didn't go to film school or anything. So
or
I didn't,
no,
yeah,
like,
I didn't
was
have to memorize this
Well,
shit.
and I was like, again, it came out in 91, I think. I was a child. I was a literal child. I was 7 years old.
I was like 4, 3. I could barely walk.
Excuse me, it was 92. I had to double check my
Oh,
notes.
okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's not like that's a lot better. It wasn't like a huge time jump there.
That means I couldn't have went and played with these guys.
No, not at all.
I wasn't big enough.
But before we get to the actors, I'll start with the directors and the director and the writer. So this is one of those things. So the director is Richard Donner. You'll see his name on everything, right? Like in the beginning of the movie, it's big because
end.
Richard Donner is a friend of Spielberg's and he's got that fucking system down, right? Like he knows how to make sure it's a his.
Yep, this is me.
Now,
remember?
Richard
I
Donner
worked with Spielberg.
Richard Donner got brought onto this project after the fact. He was not the original director. Now, that being said, the original director is just the writer of the movie, David Mickey Evans.
That's a cool name.
Yeah. So Richard Donner got brought in specifically to kind of family-friendly-fy the movie, which is funny because, again, topics being what they are, not really what you think.
Yeah.
But that's what again, it was going to be a little bit darker under the original direction, right?
Jesus.
But it was not going to be pushed as a family-friendly movie. Like, that's the difference.
I would hope not.
Well, I mean, it never should have got pushed as a family movie to start with.
Yeah,
Like,
it really
even
have.
with the light skirting around of the topic, I don't think this is the kind of thing that a mom should have been taking her 8-year-old to go see.
Probably not, no.
Right? Like, this is not that.
Come, little Timmy, let's go watch the domestic abuse movie.
Right? It's not I just don't think that was ever going to be somebody's intention, right? So, the original director did not, like, we can give kudos to him. He never wanted that to be what this was. Now this is where we were saying there's some wild, interesting shit here with this movie because David Mickey Evans he was the writer for this. So I mean, so this is still his story. In this story, the fun parts are really fun, right?
Yeah, they are.
They're so fun and they're so nostalgic. They just like this is it's throwing back to a time that I don't have a connection to, but I feel like I do because the storytelling is that good, right?
We all went and did random wild shit out in the woods when we were kids.
It's so great. And then I started to question, like, I feel like I know this, right?
The story seems familiar.
Or at least like the way the story is being told or something. I felt there was something, right? So I look it up. He's the same guy who wrote The Sandlot.
Our very first episode.
What a way to bring it back.
Wow.
I wish we would have done this last week.
Yeah, well, we should have done this last
to
kick off season 2 with this one. That would have been perfect. So close.
But yeah, this is
that's close enough for rock and roll and government work.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not really that worried. Especially since I didn't find this out till after the fact. I mean, it is what it is.
After we've already watched the movie like 3 times.
But yeah, so David Mickey Evans he was the writer of Sandlot, and so but this is where it starts to get to the really weird stuff, right? So he's the only things he's written really are the Sandlot, one of the Sandlot sequels, and an unfilmed prequel, which he has an IMDb for, I guess, to prove to people like
I did write it.
Yeah,
we just never made it.
Yeah. But so he only writes, other than this one, actual family fare, actual things
like
you would take your family to,
family shit.
Beyond family, technically just little kid movies, right? Like The Sandlot is, unless you were the parent, like our parents were the age lines up for being a kid at the time of the movie.
Yeah,
you maybe not even care to watch it with your kids and just let them watch it, right?
Right, just leave them at the.
But they were
theater 1, go to theater 2.
They were definitely
else.
Certainly the family friendly movies. He also has directed some other movies.
Even more family friendly stuff.
It's The Sandlot. And The Sandlot 2. And like 3 of the Beethoven sequels. Not the beginning. Not when it was good.
He didn't do the good one?
No, he did like 3, 4, and 5
or
something. So not even like 1 and 2 were
1 or 2 are pretty good.
It's all the same actors, I'm pretty sure. Like, there was no like change up of people between 1 and 2. 3, 4, and 5 is like direct to DVD type fare, where like like big names were tossed out and smaller actors.
Give me a
were brought
random
in.
guy who needs a job.
Right? Yeah. And so he wasn't even. But I guess let's get back on point. My reason for pointing this out though is
Tangent one.
my main point for bringing that up is just that again he only ever directed actual family friendly movies, but this was going to be his first movie. And it was going to be darker than what we saw on the
It's
screen.
already pretty goddamn dark at times.
But so I don't know where I feel like he got out of film school. Felt like he had to prove
Had to
something.
be artsy and gritty.
Well, he knew he wanted to make these kid movies, but he felt like he needed something to like
some kind of
edge him up.
Let's make a dark,
And I just want to say
dark children's
Well, and
movie.
I just want to say he doesn't need to do that.
No.
Because again, the fun parts of this,
Are
they're
so
so like The Sandlot.
yeah.
Like I literally, as soon as I read that, I was like, "Oh my god, I feel it! I feel that's that thing I felt that I couldn't put my finger on." As soon as I read it, I was like, "Yes, this feels like it's The Sandlot." It's told to us from a narrator who's speaking to us from present day
Talking
about
when he
his
was a kid.
childhood with all these nostalgic, fun things. Yes, there are horrible things, but again, his main focus isn't even the horrible things. Like he tries to get past them.
them.
We mainly get like what is essentially a lot of really fun adventures that him and his little brother do.
Pockmarked randomly with bits of horribleness.
Yes. So again, it was one of
Just
those
to keep
things.
you on your toes.
I was so blown away by this when I found that out. I was just like, I cannot at all.
feel like we could have just re-edited the movie and just
Oh
cut
yes,
the,
we
the
could
stepdad
make this.
shit out.
We could take out the 20 minutes of the domestic abuse stuff with the stepdad. Find a new reason for why the flyer was built. Right? Short. Doesn't have to be important. Just anything. They're just having fun. It's just it was the summer entertainment.
It's explained like when they're at the
Oh, you know, he
carnival.
loves the legend.
Because he's like the kid, they hear the legend, and he's always doing the
Yeah.
flying.
So, yeah,
thing.
we're good.
He's
We
obsessed
just-
with planes.
We just drop that.
nice and simple
We drop that,
explanation.
and it becomes that unaired, unfilmed prequel
And
to
you
The
get-
Sandlot.
You get to keep the scene where they're walking past the hill, and he's just like, "No, you can do it. He just did it wrong."
Yeah.
and I'm like, "See, there it is. There's the point where the kid's like, no, I can do it."
Like this, we don't know what his unfilmed prequel to The Sandlot is, but I feel like this could have been it. I mean, literally, as a good segue point for us here, this could have been just the story of Tommy and Timmy Timmons
From the Sandlot.
before The Sandlot,
Before The
right? Like
Sandlot.
because they were the ones that built things, they made the crazy stuff. This is them.
Yeah,
This is
just
they
a
made
couple
this.
of changes and a fucking name change. There you go. It's a prequel to the Sandlot.
We've got it.
Instead of them building like tree houses and shit, they built a flyer.
Yep, I like it.
We could fan edit that.
I think so.
Just do some voiceover. Like kind of.
Now, the reason this is an excellent segue point is we're going to get into our actors real quick. I want to flip it on its head a little bit because I'm using it for our segue here. Instead of doing the big ones, first, I want to name off two small actors, both in size and that they've not been in a lot of things.
But we've talked about them before.
Yes, we've talked about both of them before, ironically.
And I did not see them.
One of those is a huge, crazy piece of information that even I feel stupid about. But then the other one is the actor you didn't see. Well, yeah, I guess you didn't see either of these two, right?
No,
This is what you told me.
wasn't
So
paying
yeah,
attention.
the first one we want to mention is Victor DiMiata, who, if you don't know the name of, I don't blame you, but he is Tommy Timmons from The Sandlot. Hence why I was like, it's a great segue point to say that this could have been. He could have been the older brother
Right, he really
in this
could've.
prequel story to The Sandlot, right here. This story.
To the TARDIS. We have to fix this timeline.
Then the other person that is one of these little, again, they are in a gang in the movie of little small children, and you don't really ever get good looks at almost any of them. And there were literal
like
children.
8 of them.
So it's really easy to not know who these people were. But so the next one is Thomas Ian Nicol, who is Rookie of the Year and a kid in King Arthur's Court.
I love that
You know,
movie.
he was in a lot of things
American
from our
Pie.
childhood. American Pie, who again, this is the one that both of us want to admit. We both want to admit we're both
We're
apparently
dumb.
morons. We're
Yeah,
the dumb ones.
2 of our favorite kids movies, and we just completely skipped past
The
that's the same
connection to
fucking
him in American
guy.
Pie. Because again, we disliked
Kevin.
his character so much that we did not even. I didn't even take the time to read
look.
to
or
look.
pay attention.
And he does look different.
He really does.
Even when I read this last night and I said it to my wife and she was just like, "You didn't know that?" I even then was like in my head, like I can barely picture that dude from American Pie being that kid from Rookie of the Year.
It's like his face got longer or
something different, dude. But he doesn't look the same.
No.
In any kind of like.
So,
and again,
that's on us.
Our
bad.
My apologies, Thomas E. and Nickel, because I love you. I love your work. Apparently, I hate you in American Pie.
I love Kid in King Arthur's Court.
And I love Rookie of the Year. We're sorry, dude.
Yeah, we're sorry. My bad.
But yes, he is in this.
In recompense, we will do those movies at some point.
He did this as a super young kid. Like this was like 2 years, 3 years before Rookie of the Year. Even
he's like 10.
Well, and he's got like a
big gap.
He's got a gap between his teeth. That'll help you find him if you want to go back and look for him. Yeah. So again, they're not important. I don't know their character names because they're I just spotted them, guys.
The leader's name is Victor. That's all I got.
And neither one of them are the leader.
Yeah, the one that kept getting kicked in the balls.
Yep. So again, that we don't need to focus on them. They aren't that important. I just needed to do the one was the segue point and one was a shout out because we feel stupid. And you guys hear me. I know so many dumb, random, crazy facts about movies that when I read that, it was like a gut punch. Like I was just like, oh, for 25 years,
my title.
Oh, I felt so stupid.
I feel my crown slipping. No.
Well, I feel like I never deserved it in the first place. Again,
I'm a fraud.
For 25 years, I've been like, I know all kinds of stuff about movies, and I didn't realize it was the same guy.
Cut to Shane in the bathroom crying in the mirror. I'm a fraud.
Don't tell people what I did last night.
Oh, sorry.
I told you that in private.
That was incompetence, damn it.
We'll go to the big stars for the movie now, and since we're already on kids, we'll stick with the kids first, right? So first we have Elijah Wood as Mike. You guys know us. The bigger they are, the less likely we're gonna name stuff off for you.
You know who Elijah Wood is.
The only thing
the
only thing I'll point out is if you need a reference for like age wise, like Elijah Wood, The Good Son. This is like within a year of that movie, him and Macaulay Culkin.
Oh yeah,
where Macaulay Culkin's the bad son. Elijah Wood was the good son.
Seems like that would be the other way around, really, looking at him.
Yeah, I know that's the point of the movie, though. Like, like
oh yeah, because he seems like he's getting away with it.
Yeah, yep, and he does.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that era Elijah Wood. I mainly point this out because Elijah Wood's been acting forever. He was in Back to the Future Part 2, like we said, which was before this.
Like 87?
No, just 89. So it was only 89? Like 2 years before this, or 2 or 3. But again, this is also 2 years before North, which is one of my favorite Elijah Wood movies. One of my favorite child Elijah Wood movies.
He's been a great actor from the day he showed up.
Oh yeah, man. And done some really cool fucking movies since the day he showed up too. Like that's the thing. Like North is such a for a kids movie, it's such a trippy like concept. The kinds of jokes that they're putting in there are like crazy. A lot. It is Bruce Willis as a weird imaginary friend-ish thing.
Keeps showing up to talk to him.
There's so much in that movie. I love it. So again, we don't need to say a lot about Elijah Wood. I feel like I already said more than I wanted to.
We haven't even said the biggest one because you already know what it is.
With the biggest person?
No, the biggest movie.
Oh, the biggest movie. Yeah, we're not going to. Again, we don't need to.
Right.
You guys know.
I'm going to be very upset if I have to say it.
No, we don't. We're not saying it. We're just moving on. The next person we'll mention, because again, we're sticking with the kids first, is going to be Joseph Mazzello. I'm going to hope I'm saying that right. I hope so. Mazzello.
That sounds right.
As Bobby. Did you recognize
Jurassic Park?
Thank you. I was about to say, did you recognize
the kid from Jurassic Park?
And Jurassic Park 2. Come on, give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, he is in that one.
He's also in the movie The Cure, which is him and Brad Renfro. He's got HIV, this dude. And Brad Renfro is his older brother, and it's like them like bonding together for a summer while he's dealing with treatment. No, it's actually pretty good. It's one of those like coming of age type things, like it's sad, but it's like touching and happy too. Just like this. Again, this movie has a lot of shit that's not good, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good stuff that's going on.
Not one point in the movie
so much
that you want to turn it off. Oh wait.
Well, though there's a couple. Much like we want people to understand they shouldn't read the description of this movie and think I shouldn't watch it. I'll tell you, you should think more of the description I just gave you of The Cure than to think I shouldn't watch it. It's not as sad as hearing that it's about a little boy with HIV
like,
would make you think it
yeah,
is.
it's like,
Because it's
aw.
really like the touching relationship between two brothers, right?
That's
Like,
nice.
there's like a kids try to beat him up scene, and like like there's a whole like
Oh, I'd fuck
we're gonna
somebody
fight.
up.
Yeah. Well, he calls them out like they were gonna fight, but then he calls them out. He's like, "Could you imagine what it's like to be me, being being a guy whose little brother has HIV, and then all we're trying to do is have a good day and go fucking home, and somebody like you wants to pick a fight because he's different? How do you think your day would be?" Fucking bully is literally just like, because again, it was one of those things where it's like,
Way to Dr. Spock him.
well,
Logic
it's
them.
and it's one of those things where in the movie, like the kids didn't even know that that's what was going on,
Yeah.
right? So it's like
They just saw some
it's
little
you
kid and
should
was like,
maybe
"Go pick on
stop.
him."
Yeah, you should maybe stop to ask people or get to know a situation, not just do something like that.
You gotta hate people on a personal level.
And I want to say it might have been for our Sandlot connection here. I don't remember because this is a pull-in from the back depths of the head thing. I think it's Chauncey Leopardi, so Squints, who played the bully.
I could see it.
But don't quote me on that. I might be completely wrong. It's definitely one of those actors that has done a few things. It's one of those guys we would know.
Yeah, one
when
of
you
those
see
guys
him,
you see
for
him.
being the person that bullied him. But that's so off topic because that's
Tangent
not even
2.
tangent number 2. We don't need to count, dude. It'll be like 70 by the time we're at the end.
Somebody keep a count. I want it in the comments. Somebody keep count.
So then I think that really wraps up the kids. We don't have a lot of kids. The next one we've got though is gonna be the one that you were wrong. I want you to tell people first.
I was super duper wrong about this.
So we have the character the king,
The king, the stepdad, the bad guy.
the bad guy.
All right. They do a really good job through this entire movie.
They do
of hiding his face, and you're not really getting to see.
And
a
you
good
don't
look.
hear him talk a whole lot. And I will admit,
They have such similar facial structures,
and they sound similar.
They really do. I could have swore to God this was Bill Paxton,
and it's not.
I feel bad.
It's Adam Baldwin, who is Jane from Serenity and Firefly, and he's one of those guys. He's been in a lot of stuff. We
Full
looked it
Metal
up.
Jacket.
He's like 127,
Yeah, he's
right?
been in
Like
all
he's got
kinds
a
of stuff.
lot of. You've seen. Trust me when we say you've seen this guy somewhere.
This is
Now
my
you
very
won't.
favorite
You
gun.
might not recognize him in this because again,
The only
you don't see angles of his face.
the
very
only
often.
like quote unquote good shot of his face you get is when he's like,
well, he's bawling,
sob- he's, like,
crying.
sob
but again,
crying.
his hand is like
Yeah,
going
it's
across his
just
face
like
too. So you still
don't get a good look.
Yeah, he ironic, well, not even ironic, I don't want to say ironically, he after doing this movie has gone on record as saying he will never play a character like this again. Like it was too like, I mean, it's hard.
Yeah,
It's hard
fuck
to
this.
like try to be in the psyche of the person that would
I don't blame
do
him.
this.
Points on him for manning up and just getting through the job. I don't blame him for not doing it again. I wouldn't have done it. So
It's probably a reason why he doesn't talk about it.
I was gonna say he's more dedicated to the craft than I am. I'm like, I don't need that paycheck that bad.
So then on the note of being the
beat up men and all kinds of shit, like children, women, old people. No, not good.
On that note, though, we'll go ahead and switch over to the mom character, played Mary, played by Lorraine Bracco. This is again one of those moments that made me feel stupid, much like the Thomas Ian Nickel. This made me feel dumb. Not just because of one, because of the trifecta
the whole
of what I'm
thing.
about to mention here. So she is. Literally, we just watched her. She's from Hackers. She's the bad guy lady. She's God. She's the system. She's the one that is dating the plague or sleeping with the plague.
Yeah,
at the very
they're
least.
the bad guys.
Yeah, and so I was like, well, again, and I didn't feel bad immediately because I was like, well, The Hackers is one of my favorite movies. She's got a small part in that movie,
And she's got
and I've not seen
big hair.
I hadn't seen Radio Flyer since probably I was 10 or 11 at the, you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
was a kid.
You were the age of the kids in the movie.
For sure. It's been a long time. Because again, while it is good, and I do have generally a fond sense of it from when I was a child, it is hard to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I didn't at first when I saw that part of her filmography, I wasn't like immediately like, well, I'm an idiot. And then I kept looking. She's the therapist in The Sopranos.
The one that Tony's hooking up
Yeah,
with?
well, the one that's in every episode because
fucking
it's who he
episode.
starts the episode talking to. She is also in Rizzoli and Isles as
Oh,
one of
hey,
the.
I
She's
remember
one
that
of the
show.
two. She's one of the two.
She's Rizzoli and or Isles.
Yes, I think she's
both of them.
Rizzoli because she is Italian.
That makes
Lauren
sense.
Lorraine Bracco. And she plays a lot of that type of. But yeah, I'm not even shitting you. When I saw this, I was like, man, all of that information together makes me feel dumb.
I'm gonna retract my statement. I don't think I like this movie. It keeps making us feel stupid.
It's awful.
Losing our pop culture points here.
Right? Now, those are going to be all of our main characters, right? It's literally that family.
Yeah.
This is a movie that, and really, for her being the mom, we see probably less of her than the stepdad.
Yeah, now you think.
Like, I mean, we see her face, obviously, because like you
Yeah.
said, they hide his face. But like, as far as scenes where we physically see them and know that they're in the house with the kids, once you get past the first 20 minutes of the movie, he is in the house with the kids way more often than she is.
Yeah, because she's at work.
Yeah, she
She works night shifts
She's
and
at
shit.
home while they're at school
Yep.
and
then
working when they
when they
get
go home.
home from school. Yeah. So again,
My mom did that for a little while, but my dad didn't beat us.
yeah, I mean, well, there's nothing wrong with being like that. There's only the rest of her attitude.
Yeah, the
is
rest
what's
of
wrong.
it is what's wrong.
Yeah, so the whole movie just focuses on this family. We have what I would say we've got two more people that we really need to talk about. One being Officer Doherty. Did you
The
see
sheriff?
Yeah, did you see who that was?
I recognize him. I know faces. Names I'm terrible with.
It's the dad from Home Alone.
Hey, it is.
It's John Hurd.
It's Mr. Moneybags running with the
Snake
mafia.
Eyes.
How else you afford that fucking house, Mr. McAllister?
You don't need to tell them this joke again. We already did it during Snake Eyes because he was the bad guy in Snake Eyes. Calm
Go
down.
watch that one.
But that goes to prove your point, I guess,
Yeah.
that you're not good at remembering them because you didn't even remember that we'd already
Yeah,
talked. You've
see?
already given them that bit.
I can reuse my jokes. They're mine.
You can, but we don't want them to think that every time they see John Hurd on an upcoming movie list that they're like, damn it, Bo's going to say that again.
I will. I'm going to do it. Just to annoy you people.
And then the last person that we have to mention, and again,
It's kind of hard not to
well, the
mention
reason
him.
I waited to mention him last is just like our last movie. This is an uncredited role.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
He
No,
just-
they couldn't find a reason though. No, I scoured the internet trying to find a reason because this is like unlike Bruce Willis's. This is in Four Rooms. This is a very direct, important role.
yeah,
character.
he's the narrator.
But I can't find a single reason why he's uncredited for this. But he is uncredited. Tom
Hmm.
Hanks. Tom Hanks. I guess I've
Yeah,
said
Tom
everything but his
Hanks.
name.
There you
It's
go.
Tom Hanks. But again, if you watch the movie, you see him in 5 seconds.
Yeah, he plays adult Mikey.
He might even be on the movie poster because again, he was just a big. No,
Yeah.
if he's uncredited, they
He
can't
wouldn't-
do
yeah,
that.
they
Well, they
wouldn't have done
can't.
it.
They can't. SAG would be
Yeah,
all
they'd have
over
been all
that.
pissed off about it.
But yeah, so again, I don't know why he's uncredited, but yeah, Tom
he just
Hanks
really liked the script.
I guess
Wanted to do it for minimum.
he's but he is here as our old Mike / narrator for everything.
Yeah, he's telling
and again,
us the story.
so if you're keeping track with us, and this being the prequel movie, he is essentially the prequel to The Sandlot. He's essentially just being Scott Smalls.
Yep.
Right? Like he's
telling us the story from
of
when
his,
he was a
of
kid.
his summer.
Which again basically starts with the what happened before we actually got
Well,
there.
and this will be the last time everything else you can just hear us say and know directly. You make your own connections
yeah,
if you hear it.
we're gonna do a synopsis
Yeah,
here in a second.
But the last one I want to point out specifically that is a direct like the Sandlot connection like this is the Sandlot has a very specific thing where they're talking about the legend that these kids believe from the small town, and when they do the legend, it goes black and white.
Yep. So does this one.
And it happens immediately, which is we'll do that and we'll get into our synopsis because that part's not our synopsis.
No,
But
it's just how the movie starts.
The movie starts with having a fun little flashback, but again, this flashback once you know it's the guy from the Sandlot, you're just like, oh shit! It's literally
It's
just
literally
like
the
when
same
Squint
thing
tells the
when he's
fucking story about
Hercules.
Yeah, it's so funny. Yes. Well, and it's got that vibe to it.
It
right?
does
It's so
when he's-
fun when
yeah.
you're doing this. So we'll just recap the flashback first because again, this kind of sets up the premise of some stuff.
Yeah, the legend
and
of
then
the
we'll do an
entire
actual
film.
overall synopsis for you.
Yeah.
But so the flashback that sets up everything here is coming from Tom Hanks. He's telling his kids, who are arguing with each other about
Playing with a toy.
and we'll talk about that more at the end. But yeah, playing with a fucking toy. That's all they're doing.
All they're doing.
I guess we'll talk about it right now.
Yeah, no,
'cause
it's
this
fine.
is stupid.
One kid said, "You
I'm
promised to
angry.
let me play with the toy," and the other one's just like, "Yeah, get over it." And Tom Hanks is like,
He
"What?"
walks up and he goes,
Did you
you
promise?"
promised him. And he goes, "Let me tell you guys a story." And then proceeds to tell them this crazy, fucked up,
dark at
dark
times.
summer of his life where his brother got beaten possibly to death.
Vague. We'll get into the existential shit later.
But yeah, it's insane that this was a parent's
Because they wouldn't share
resolution.
like an toy airplane or something.
You guys don't want to keep promises? Let me tell you what can happen if you don't keep a promise.
This whole wild
Because
fucking
again,
story.
he is almost crying when he first starts saying this to the
Yep.
kids. Like when he first is like, "You guys remember when I told you about your Uncle Bobby?
There's some shit I left out because I thought you were too young."
Like the fact that he could be dead." I mean, I'm sorry.
Now is as good a time as any, I
Right?
think.
Let's sit here
It's
on
like,
the airfield
Is it?
while people are flying around
Right?
us.
Like, is this the time? Really?
I don't think so, man. This again, we just have to point that out because it's
the movie
wild.
has to start.
The movie has to start somehow, but that was a wild way
Right?
to start it.
He took now to unload his trauma, I guess.
Yeah, and so then we get this flashback that we said we'll tell you, and then we'll do our real
'cause
synopsis.
to tell his story, he has to
His-
start
he-
before
well,
they
yeah,
even
he tells
got
him. He
there.
says, "Well, it really starts. Well, I guess even before us." And so we flash back to again, not even where the kids actually live. Right, this is
Right.
where they move to later on. It's where the bulk of the story takes place.
Nevada, California.
Nevada, California. It's right outside of Hollywood, right? No, it said or L.A. or something. They said it was close to one of the big cities.
It's probably just a suburb of
Oh,
LA
for
at this
sure.
point.
I'm sure. At this point, it's literally just LA,
Yeah.
right? They got eaten completely. It's not even a
Yeah,
suburb.
probably.
Anymore. They've built projects on top of the suburb at this point.
Oh, that means that the Wishing Rock is gone.
Definitely.
They demoed
sure.
it. Those bastards.
But yeah, so we first get him telling his kids this flashback, this story of Fisher. I love this story.
A man who knew that he was a legend.
Well, and like this is the thing. This is like the movie bait and switches you, right? Like I distinctly, if you were to ask me as like a 10-year-old why I enjoyed Radio Flyer, when no adult would have believed a 10-year-old enjoyed the
Right.
movie Radio Flyer. It's like being like, I love My Girl. Do you
Really?
Right? Like it
It's
like
but he
the
dies.
adults because the adults can feel the nostalgia, but then also like you don't generally expect a kid to appreciate both sides of that coin, right? But yeah, I definitely love this movie, and it's because of that bait and switch at the beginning, right? Like I remember the fun stuff.
Right.
This story hooks a kid in, right? The way
Immediately.
it's told, the excitement that's going on. Fisher fucking clears. He's riding his bike and he clears the treetops. He almost touches that plane.
No, I
that
thought he
takes
was
off.
trying to grab the plane.
Oh, I thought he was trying to land on it. I thought he was
He's
trying
gonna
to
try
like
land
ride
on
across
top of
the-
it and
yeah.
then just like take off with
We
the
never
plane.
know exactly what his intention was.
This
That I will point that out. We
kid
don't
is
know what
nuts.
he was trying to do
like-
other than catch a lot of air.
It's like a 1/4 mile long hill that he goes riding his bike down
Well,
and jumps off
A
a
roof.
roof of
they
a
made
barn.
a ramp out of
Out
a
of a
barn
barn
roof. Insane, dude. But let's also point out the movie tells us later specifically the reason why he couldn't succeed. He'd already forgotten.
He forgot
The
the
seven.
7 rules and fascinations of being secrets and fascinations of being a
child.
kid.
Yeah. And that's why.
He was
One
just,
of those being that you can fly.
He forgot. He wanted to believe, but he was too wrapped up thinking about the opposite sex.
Yeah. Or something.
That's
We
what he says
I
later.
know,
He's
but
like-
we
like
don't
the-
even know that. But later on, they do tell us he would have been 14 when it happened, which is
Oh, he's definitely. He's like,
I don't know about you, but I don't think I looked at those kids from the beginning and thought
thought they were 14.
I thought 12,
especially not Penub sitting
right?
there.
But it is what it is. It's a fun flashback though,
Yeah,
right?
it
This
He
fun story. It gets you all
he-
set up
falls a good 100 feet
out of the air.
and just breaks his goddamn leg. But his friends are all like,
well, they
"Oh,
thought he was dead.
he's dead." And his eyes open. No, he's alive. Dude, you did it. You flew. Woo!
All right. But that wraps up our little story.
Yep, that's
The,
the
the whole
intro.
point there, though, was just supposed to be this childlike the thing he's trying to tell us is
Yeah.
like there's this childlike drive, right? And
Like,
that's
I believe hard enough it will happen.
well, he's also setting up to his kids already this idea of, and this is where the ambiguousness of the movie keeps coming back, right? Because he keeps telling us, because history is all by whoever's telling it,
yeah,
right?
history is in the mind of the teller.
Well, he says it like 3 different
Yeah.
ways. I've got it in my notes every time because I'm like, I thought that it was always the same. And then
Yeah,
I
nope.
quickly looked at my notes. Was like, no, he says it's different every time. But it's the same gist.
Yeah, it's the
It just
same
means that
thing.
if you're the one telling the story,
It's
you get to
your
be the one that
history.
tells it.
Yeah.
And you can believe it as hard as you need to, right?
History is written by the victor.
And so obviously his point from the very beginning by telling us this flashback first was that even that story, this thing that they based all of this summer and shit off of, we don't know, right?
Yeah.
Like that is all secondhand information. That's how a legend starts. Again, the fact that they keep using the word legend, much like the Sandlot. Because again, the dog is a legend. Babe Ruth is a legend.
Yeah.
Heroes whatever.
Heroes never die, legends live forever.
Or
Or
it's,
something
but it's
like
not
that.
never die because that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's whatever the quote is. It is legends live forever. The difference is legends. This guy, he's got a thing. He likes his legends.
He likes to tell like modern day Greek myths.
Right, and it's good. And so we will move off of that. He just used that to paint this picture, right? The synopsis. Again, we want to try to do this as gently as possible. So the synopsis here is a woman's husband must have cheated on her. They don't really tell us too much.
Yeah, they just say it's like dad left.
He left. We definitely know he didn't die. We definitely know it was some kind of he did something to them because she threw the ring out the window while driving, right? So the real dad not in the picture no more.
Yeah, he's gone.
Big point of reference I want to say, real dad couldn't have been worse than this dad.
Yeah, mom has a terrible taste in men.
Definitely.
She's 2 for
The only
2.
only good thing she's gotten from any man are these kids.
Yeah.
And then she's willing to risk one of them
just to be able to pay for the house.
It's we're getting too ahead of
Yeah,
our
we're way ahead of it.
Just a synopsis, and we're
Yeah,
getting too
Jesus.
far ahead.
All right, continue.
But yeah, so they make their way cross country. She ends up marrying a new husband, their stepdad, the
And
king.
and it's all nice and smiles.
It seems like it's going to be great, but then they quickly find out he's an abusive man.
He's a
He's a drunk. He's only abusing Bobby, the youngest one. He's not bothering Mike at all. The mom is negligent as all hell.
Has no
to be
clue.
said for the synopsis
Yeah,
because
she has no clue.
it
She
is a
does
major
find out
point
about
in
it
the movie.
until the kid ends up in
Yeah.
the hospital.
Yeah. But then as all of this is going on, they slowly start to build the radio flyer, right? Like, well, before even building it, we see like how Bobby is like making the plan as they
because he
like,
gets these
we
like
just see
distant,
adventures.
faraway
Yeah,
looks.
we keep seeing adventures that they're
It's
having.
almost implied like he's psychic, almost like he knows what's going to happen.
We'll get wait until we finish the full synopsis. But yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about specifically is the weird psychic shit that goes on in the movie. But yeah, so they start to have these adventures, and through the adventures we see the things that will lead to the
them
radio
building
flyer.
the flyer.
Yeah, right? Like we see like the parts that are going to go into it. We see the flyer, how they got it itself. It's kind of like this cool origin story for a thing you don't even know it's an origin story for yet, right? Like the second viewing, you're like,
This
oh,
is
this
the origin
is the
story for the Rocketeer. We just don't know
totally
it,
like
right?
that, right?
I can
see
see
that
it.
kind of
Rocketeer,
vibe.
when he was like 9, built a flying machine. Totally buy that.
But yeah, so it gives us that kind of vibe, right? Like
Yeah.
it is the origin story for like the plane or the origin story for something.
Yeah.
You just don't know that's what you're watching, right? It's a slow build to that's what's going on. But we do see at the same time the domestic abuse does build up and
Yep.
build up, right?
It's like they go out on these adventures and have fun doing all these kid things. Like you want to go do with them. Like you want to go catch frogs and
Yes.
go climb hills and do all and get in a fight with all the other neighborhood
bullies,
kids. That's
kids,
neat.
yeah.
But then it's intercut with these just dark ass fucking scenes
Crazy.
of Bobby getting beat for absolutely no fucking reason.
Mhm.
This guy's just a drunk and
Just a dr-
decided
yeah,
to start beating on
100%.
Bobby.
Yes,
Because he's the
100%.
weakest one of the group.
That's what it is. But so then, through all of this, though, the brothers slowly build the machine. Well, they come up with the plan to
plan.
leave after. I guess we gotta get he beats Bobby so bad.
But he almost kills him.
Yes,
Like he wakes
like
up
we
in
said,
the hospital.
trigger warning, guys. Like we this is gonna be the only time we talk about that. Once we get done with this, we're gonna be happy.
Yep,
smiles.
we know it happened and it's all fine.
But yes, he does. He beats him. He goes to jail. They thought everything was gonna be good. Mom
Can't pay,
dumb,
can't pay for the bills and stuff, and she's all crying and stuff.
so she takes him back
Yep.
like an idiot. And
He
so,
promised
well,
not
I
to
don't care.
drink anymore.
I don't care.
I know.
She's an idiot.
They all fucking
Yes.
say that. They
Uh,
all
the
say
sheriff
that.
had specifically talked to her and told her no.
Yeah, right. And the sheriff, did you notice this?
Oh,
real quick?
no.
The sheriff's office is literally just down the
Yes.
street from their
Yes,
fucking house.
dude. I mean, there's so many problems with it. Trust me, I know. She definitely is. I have so many problems.
She's kinda
We'll get to that.
yeah.
Yeah. Let's finish our synopsis. We're literally
We're almost
2 seconds.
we're
with
2
this
seconds away
synopsis.
from them building the
Yeah,
machine.
So after this, after he comes back, they immediately know they need to leave. So they build it finally. They've had the plans. They build it. Once they build it, they take off with it. Well, Bobby,
Yeah,
Bobby,
just Bobby.
because again, Mike's not been picked on.
Yeah,
And
Mike's gotta
someone has to stay home
and
to
take care of mom. Man, these kids are so willing to just die for their fucking mom, aren't
It's
they?
crazy.
It's kind of noble, but it's a little too far, kids.
No, but so it's way too far.
Yeah,
kids.
I'm all for nobility, but there's a line.
But yeah, so then we get the full takeoff. Bobby goes, or does he?
Or does he?
We don't
They
know.
leave it ambiguous.
I want to leave that to be the last thing again, we may not be doing this scene by scene, and it doesn't matter that we jump around the place, but I feel like we should wait to discuss the multiple ways the ending could be interpreted for the ending of Us, right? At least seems rational. But yeah, the ending is definitely ambiguous at best, right? Like and not even just like what you visually see, what it could represent, especially, is all over the place. But the movie just ends with a quick go back to modern day,
And Tom Hanks
making it more ambiguous by saying the craziest line ever to his kids.
Yeah, because the kids are like, "Oh, cool! Is that how like we got the turtle and
And
all
he,
this?"
well,
other
and he
shit?
looks at him one more time and he goes, "You remember what I said about how stories are, again,
Yeah, history's in my mind, or
in
whoever
the mind
says
of whoever's telling it." He says it to him one more time.
That's how I choose to remember him. And then gets a
And
sad look,
again,
and it's
which
like,
is
well,
like-
wait, what the fuck was that?
Because the visually the movie does, we can go ahead and tell you, the visual actual what we see is that he survives.
Yeah, he makes
He
it.
takes off
The
in the
plane
plane
works.
and everything's great.
But then they cut back to Tom Hanks, and
And
it's
Tom
like,
Hanks immediately
was it
says,
bullshit?
"Is that the truth?" And
Is
you know,
that,
like, again,
like,
like,
is
he
it
might
just
have
in my
literally-
head?
He might have literally just looked at the camera and said, "Is it?" Because that's the kind of moment it was when he said that.
It's
to
like
the
a Roger
kids.
Corman movie. It's
You know,
like,
right?
Or is it?
Right? Like that's the kind of look he gave the kids
Yeah.
when he said that to them.
I don't like that. I want him to have made it. They
Well,
could have just left it happy.
Like I said, we'll talk about all the different ways we can possibly interpret the ending in just a minute. Before we get there, let's just talk about some of the weirdness, right? Like, so you wanted to bring up the psychicness.
Yeah, it's super weird. Like even
How many
before-
times of psychic did you notice?
like twice, even before we find out that like Bobby's getting beat. Because like when they're at the carnival and everything's happy and shit, and he's in the plane ride thing and he's doing the woo, he's all talking. He's like, he got that faraway look, like he knew something. And I'm like, he hasn't even been getting.
Well, but
beat
that
yet.
one wasn't psychic. He immediately followed that up with, but he did know things because he's still connected more.
Oh yeah, to the
yeah.
fascination.
So that one doesn't count for sure.
All right,
He gave us the reason.
definitely
for that
the one where he's like, he's coming back. That is clear.
Well, he's coming back.
We can't spend the money.
Well, but the he's coming back wasn't psychic either, though. He's coming back was because he specifically heard his mom saying the
Oh,
stuff. So he just knew. It's happened enough times now that he's like, we know what's happening.
Yeah.
To me, the psychic one,
The lawnmower engine,
a little bit.
a little inkling of it.
The only time I really feel like straight up psychic was when they were both at the end of the movie, when they were both at school eating lunch, and they both were like, my stomach hurts, we need to get home.
Yeah, we need to get home, dude.
Which also brings me to a thing that we haven't even mentioned yet.
The
The
dog
dog's name.
is Shane.
I can't believe we're over halfway through this episode and we
He's
haven't mentioned that I share a name with the fucking dog
such a
in the
good
movie.
dog,
He is.
though.
He is. And I'm glad.
And
I
and
respect. I respect having this dog and I
And talking
share a
about
name.
the scene we were just talking about where their stomachs are all upset and they run home. I almost called you and was like, "Why'd you make me watch this?" I thought they had killed that dog in this movie. I was gonna be like, "No, we can't do this. We can't do this movie. We have
dog
to
made
pick
it, dude.
another." Yeah, I did. I was like, as soon as the eye opened and it whined, I was like, "Oh, okay, thank God."
To reference the other Shane that I am named after, Shane came home. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Come back, Shane.
Yes. Yeah. Which he almost said when
Do
they
you think he
saw him
died
dead.
in that movie too? That's another movie with an
Yeah, I
ambiguous
don't know.
ending.
I'm not worried about it. It's not my favorite. Like I'm named after it. It's not my favorite.
It's a good movie.
I'm not saying it's bad. It's just not my favorite, man. Like when you're named after something, your respect for it,
that's fair.
it's not as high, right? I mean, it's just not automatically just run out. You know how many times in my life I've heard Shane, come back, Shane. Like so many, dude.
It's the title of the episode. Come back, Shane.
No, but it couldn't be that. But I bet you they said something close to that to the dog.
Yeah,
if we really
probably.
wanted to, we could do that for sure. But yeah, no, that scene is the most psychic one though, right? Like because
they're at
both of their
school.
stomachs start hurting.
We gotta go.
We gotta go home. We gotta do it now. Something's not right. We got to go.
Yeah, it was like right after the king comes back and immediately gets drunk, even though he said he wouldn't, and is like, "I'm gonna fuck that dog up."
Yep, and does.
And yeah, thought
There's
it was
blood
dead.
on the
Blood
fucking glass? Yeah, dude.
everywhere.
We need to stop. We said we weren't gonna focus on the king and his horrible actions after the synopsis.
Yeah,
Let's focus on the fun stuff.
fun
of the movie.
stuff.
But so the fun stuff is the best parts of the movie, right? Like, and not just because we said the fan edit is to get rid of the other parts, but because it's so fun, it can make you not care.
Yeah, it makes you forget that there's.
Well,
and then it's like, oh fuck yeah, that's right.
like,
Shit.
Well, I went like 20 minutes before you were coming to my house, which means it's like the fourth time you've watched the movie. You literally just sent me out of the blue. Like I didn't ask for this from you or anything. You were just like, I really like this movie. And again, for that to be the thing you say about it after watching it
all the dark
and
shit
all the
in
dark
there.
stuff
Yeah,
too.
I'm like, I still liked this movie. I had no
proves the
problem
point.
watching it.
Well,
twice.
again, like I watched this as a child a lot. And like the reason I could do that is because again, I knew where the bad stuff was, and I would purposely find ways to not
I
be
gotta
in
go
the
pee.
room for it. Yeah, oh, it's time to go pee. I need a snack right about now.
Right.
I wonder if the dog needs a walk.
Just any excuse to
Yes,
leave the room.
anything to leave the
Sandwich time.
Yes, whatever I need so I can go. That's what would happen for sure.
Just gonna make a quick soup.
The fun of the movie is so fun that even as a child,
Right.
I would suffer through knowing how dark some of the scenes would get.
Because it reminds you of the fun shit you did, like
Well, you
going
get,
out running through the woods and stuff.
Well, they run through the woods. They go out. They get away with again. Like some of this is definitely stuff. As we always see, it's not kids today don't get to know, and it's not as bad as everybody likes to joke about. But yeah, this is of a time that kids don't know, and me and you were on the edge of it not being that time anymore, which is 100% the.
Go
as
outside.
long as you
as
weren't
long as
coming
came
back
home.
injured or
before it
with
got
your
too
good
dark.
clothes ripped up or too dark, then generally speaking, nobody asked you what you did and didn't give two shits.
Nope.
And so they were able to get away with doing so much crazy. And like the movie
they are
highlights.
miles away from.
Well,
home.
they highlight it sometimes, right?
Right.
Like they're just spent all day walking with the wagon behind them, right?
Yep, just exploring.
Crazy stuff. The scene where they move into the house and they go out to the shack, the clubhouse
the
that was built by
clubhouse
the
of-
last kids for the first time. Fuck, dude, that's
That'd been
so
awesome.
fun. It's so with the
Well, we kind of did that at that one house because the barn out back
Well,
had all the creepy shit in it.
the way they made the turtle for that scene though, right?
Yeah, it looked like
those-
Moria from fucking Neverending Story.
I love the scenes like that in this movie, right? Like even when they
because they're
tried
kids, everything's
yes, grand,
yeah,
exciting.
big, and
As Tom Hanks said in the movie, the monsters haven't been sequestered to the realm of video games
yep,
yet.
they weren't
still
all
existed.
rounded up yet. They were
Yeah.
still out in the
They
world.
existed in our heads and in our hearts. Yeah,
And they could be fought.
and so yeah, like I loved all of that that's in this movie. The only time the weirdness of like their imagination actually scared me, like like there are parts of the movie that are pretty obvious where a kid might leave the room to walk the dog, right? Like the abuse stuff is probably one scene in particular that is not supposed to be like that, but used to scare the piss out of me was the buffalo scene.
The giant
When I was
animatronic
a
buffalo.
when I was a kid, when I was 10, that
That
used
is
to
scary
scare the
as
piss
fuck,
out of
dude,
me
when I first
because
saw
it's
it.
creepy,
Yeah.
it's weird, it doesn't look like, because we see the real buffalo in the beginning, looks okay.
This one does not. It
This
has
looks
a
very
weird, it has like weird human
Since
eyes.
we had the reference to what it should look like earlier in the movie, it
Yeah.
makes this one stand out too much.
And then it talks, which made it even worse. Do you
And
know-
he's so
It's the
calm.
voice of Geronimo Bill.
Yes.
That's the same guy.
But yeah, he's so calm
Yep.
while he's
Gotta
talking.
protect your brother,
Well,
Mike.
like I mean, like even Mike is calm. Like it freaked me out that he was so
How's he not
calm
screaming and
yeah,
running?
because I was like, this thing is frightening.
He's just like, hey, how'd you get here? Window was open.
Oh,
And on top of
okay.
everything, the buffalo's a fucking smartass.
Yes, the whole time he's talking to him, he's smart ass.
It's like, oh, thanks. Can't get a straight answer out of you.
But yeah, that scene was not meant to be a thing to scare you.
No, but I can see how they scare the shit out
It
of you.
scared me so much as a kid. One other scene that I actually loved to watch, but also would just like make my guts just like twist on themselves, is the scene where they make the anti-monster potion.
Oh, yeah, because it's really gross.
Well, no, the reason it would twist my guts up, I love everything about it. It's entertaining watching them because I remember doing stuff like that.
Sweetbreads. I
Throwing-
don't know.
yeah,
Skip it.
And like ground beef for monkey brains. You know, like it's
We need Eye of Newt. Marbles.
right. Like I love that. It's so fun. The gut wrenching part comes from the cleanup. The shakiness in Bobby's voice.
Yeah.
When he realizes
That
and he's
there
like,
are
we have to do it before he gets home. Dude.
Yeah, that's a rough
It
scene.
immediately takes a scene that I enjoy so much. Like the lead up to that point is so fun, right?
And then it gets
And then it just
immediately.
literally, and so I
it's
mean, like that's
you-
why
you're
it,
like, oh,
it's why
fuck.
it literally
you're
my-
rooting for him when they're sitting there
Yes.
cleaning like scrub, boys, scrub.
But that also ties me back to we see the monster movies from the 50s, right? We see Frankenstein. We see them look at the comic books
and stuff.
which is where
There's a reference to the 50-foot woman.
In the comic book is where we see they decide to order
The
several
monster-
things. Well, and they got something else before the monster stuff. They order things from this magazine to show us that that's something you can do. I don't know about you, but I got so mad when I realized that they ordered the anti-monster serum thing from the magazine, and it was just a recipe card.
Yeah, me too. I thought they were gonna like send them a thing.
Right? I was like, how
like a
much did they
pre-mixed
send?
potion.
How much money did they send?
Way more than that piece of paper was worth, man.
Right? Like I was like,
Probably like
that's bullshit.
like
Which,
$3
again, I mean, don't get me wrong. That's what it was. That's what it was back
to
in
a
the day.
9-year-old. That's a lot.
Well, but I mean, that's what all of those were. You know, like X-ray
yeah,
glasses.
get your X-ray glasses.
Sea monkeys, right? These are the things that you used to buy through these, and then they would charge you way too much, and you get a
Spend
powder
fif-
of dust, and then they would say mix with water. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on now.
Sea monkeys are just brine shrimp.
Yeah,
They're
well,
usually just
it's
used for
freeze
fish
dried.
food.
It's freeze
Yeah.
dried. Yeah, you're getting a freeze dried.
Paying like $50 for it.
Yep.
You can go to the pet store and buy a big bottle of it for like $5.
Yeah, well, you could buy live ones that haven't been freeze dried, and so they will guaranteed be alive
Oh yeah.
and not be 50-50 on whether they unfreeze.
Yeah. Whether they regenerate or however
Yeah.
the fuck that works.
Well, it's a freeze thing. It's just like how other like flies. If a fly flies into your
Yeah.
freezer, it doesn't die. You just open your freezer 30 minutes later and it'll fly out normal.
Some tardigrade
Yeah.
shit.
It is.
Can't kill them.
Yeah, like it way bummed me out to see them have to pay money for a recipe card. Surprisingly, they were okay with it.
Yeah, they were super excited.
But that does tie into one of the scenes you said you loved the most, which was the bully fight, right? Because that's
fight.
they get
They-
their card for the recipe right
After
the
it.
bully fight. So yeah, why don't you hit us with the
Well,
bully fight?
they come home. So literally all their shit just in the yard.
This was one of the
'cause
worst
King
things.
is like just doesn't want them in the house. I guess
It's one of the worst moments I saw of the King too.
yeah.
right?
Like, why?
Well, we'll get into more after the fight. Just like how she couldn't have known, right? Like if he does shit like that,
Right?
how
did
she not know? How did the sheriff not find a time to tell her? Because he saw all the shit.
Yeah,
out
like
in the
hey,
road.
the boys were cleaning up your yard because it looked like your husband threw all your shit
Right? Like
outside.
that was such a problem to me.
Yeah. But they're in the middle of cleaning up all this shit, and the gang of dickheads fucking roll in and just immediately start
Wait,
fucking with them.
First off, I want to say you're being nice for saying that they were in the middle of it. They had just walked up and seen it, essentially. Like, I think maybe they had picked up
like,
one,
one
they weren't even
thing.
cleaning it yet. They were just
Yeah.
kind of being like in shock. Like,
These
what?
assholes show up and they're like, "It's your dead meat now, motherfuckers. And your dog's locked in the house and ain't here to save you." And Mike, my hero, dude, he's badass. He grabs Bobby, throws him behind him, says, "Run, Bobby," and dives into the middle of all these dudes and just starts getting wailed on. Bobby, unfortunately, is not quick enough. They grab
Yep.
him too. And they're like trying to stuff him in dresses or some shit and wailing on him.
These bullies bothered me so bad.
Right?
Both of the two big scenes, right? The first one doesn't even really count. Like where
Yeah,
they stick Shane on him and run him off real
Yeah.
quick. That doesn't count. But this time in the next one, I like why, right? Like if
'Cause
you
they're
walk up and
different.
well, it's not even that. Like if you
With
walk
all that
up
shit out there, like
in
why
the
would
yard,
you pick that
like,
time?
you have
like,
to
oh,
know
something
something is fucked up
happened here.
is going on, and I wouldn't be like, now's when I'm gonna go pick on this kid.
This whole
I would be
group
like, shit, dude.
of
Like
little
they're
sociopaths.
yeah, right. Like it's insane. Well, and then the second time, they fucking lie.
Yeah, they trap him. They come
trick
up
Mike
on him.
into thinking that they're
"Hey, come
over
play-
it and they're
come
gonna
play football with us. We need a new guy."
and everybody's into it and they're like, come
Yeah.
on, yeah, it'll be great. Lying to him with the oldest kid knowing that he's just gonna
Yeah, and as
fucking-
soon as they get there, he's just like, "You ever played Kill the Man or some
Right,
shit like
yeah.
that?" I'm like, "Oh fuck, they're gonna make him run the gauntlet," and he does. He powers through, never stops. He's bleeding. Mikey just trucks through it, gets to the bikes, the safe
Yeah.
spot, and everybody else is like,
Yeah,
"Yo,
they're all
man,
like,
you
"That's
made
dope,
it,
yeah."
dude, hell yeah, pick him up." That the leader, Victor guy, he's just like, "You cheating son of a bitch." So Mikey kicks him in the dick, and all the rest of them are like, "Yeah, fuck you." Did you pay attention when Mikey was like riding away and shit? If you looked in the background, the rest of the boys were beating up on Victor because he was an
'cause-
asshole.
exactly, and rightfully so. Because dude, that was too much.
He is no longer the leader of that
he-
group.
He won.
Yeah.
Well, and he was so excited too. Like, right, Mike was
He's
riding
like,
home.
"I did it, man.
I did it again.
Yeah,
because he did it once
I
during the
kicked
first
him
fight.
in the dick.
He-
I
again,
made it."
he said,
And
"I
this
kicked him
is-
in the dick again."
So it goes from this super high, right? Like,
To
like
major low.
yeah,
Because that's the one where he thought he was dead.
yeah, when Bobby ends up in the hospital.
Yeah. Because that was, yeah, exactly. Like he couldn't find Shane at first, and he sees Shane outside whimpering, and he was like, "No,
Please, let
I'll
it be
never leave him
okay."
again, dude." Again, like
Right.
I said, the
It
way
does
they
so good.
the heartstrings, right? They
Right?
pull on him, and I get that that's great. I also understand why this movie caught a lot of flack,
Yes.
right? Again, like we already mentioned, Richard Donner came in, and when he came in, they pushed it. Like this movie was pushed as like a family movie. It was pushed like, take your family
Yeah.
to the movies this weekend.
Bring the kids. It'll be fine. None of them will have questions at the end of the movie.
Well, and the reason I have so many problems with that, right, is it's like multi-folded why that's an issue, right? But one of the biggest ones is it does have this ambiguous ending, right? And it's got the kind of ambiguous ending that where if you're a child, you're definitely going to think happy,
Yeah.
right? Because your head doesn't want to go
because
to
they give you all the things you
and
want.
they show it to you.
Yeah, he gets
You-
the
as a-
postcard.
as a kid,
and all
you
the
don't
shit.
understand
It's
this.
like, yeah, he made it.
You don't understand this concept that they might be showing us what he wants, not what is real, right?
It's
So as
not
a kid-
inconceivable
as
that
a
Mike
kid-
wrote
yes.
that postcard.
So as a kid, you just walk away believing 100%, oh, right, everything's great.
yeah,
The adults are taking their kids to see this, and they're not walking away with that
it's like, no,
interpretation.
that kid's dead.
Yes, no,
that kid
no adult.
crashed.
And so, like, to push this to be a family
Right.
movie was crazy. It is a good movie.
It
and I
is.
love all the scenes. If you wanted it to be a family movie, you can't. The domestic abuse can't be there at all.
12 and up.
Yes, no.
This isn't a kid movie.
It's a
Like,
tween.
yeah, it's a-
as they
yeah.
would say today. It's a tween.
Yeah, it's a
for
tween
tweens.
movie. That's totally fine. Don't take anybody under that
Because
age,
it's got
though.
a heavy enough. It's just like how in middle school they make you read the Diary of Anne Frank.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's an age where you need to start being exposed to some of
The world
real
isn't
world.
nice.
Yeah. It is not something that a 10-year-old
Eight-year-olds
and
and shit
8-year-old
don't need to know the world sucks yet.
this bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. That being said, though, like the fantastical fun is fantastical fun.
Yeah.
Geronimo Bill is amazing.
Dude, I love that shit. I want to go. I want to go to Geronimo Bill's and hang out with
Uh,
a fucking buffalo.
I loved seeing that.
There'd be way more now.
They
They're on the
also though
rise.
still made that scene sad in a way I
Yeah,
didn't
'cause
remember
the-
as a kid.
yeah,
As a
'cause
kid, that scene was nothing but
75
fun.
cents, and she didn't have it.
Well, not only
And the
that,
guy was nice enough to let him in anyway.
but also there's only the one.
yeah,
and
the
it
one
starts
buffalo,
crying,
and it's like crying.
and he's like, "You think it's sad?" And the mom doesn't even miss a beat. Yeah, it's definitely sad. I was like, "Damn, bitch."
That's what happens when you're lonely. It's like, okay, we get it. Don't project onto the kids. This is supposed to be a happy fun time.
Well, again, let's let us the mom.
Man,
Like we've already
God,
touched, we've
can we
danced
get
around
her
all
on
of it.
charges of neglect? Some like
All the
she
way.
is not a
So-
very good mom.
In the very beginning, she was great. I loved
Yeah,
her for
oh,
the
I
road
loved her.
trip. I loved her
The
for the
road
road trip.
trip,
The peanut
everything.
butter
Oh, the peanut
sandwiches,
butter and
gang
shit.
and shit.
Yeah, it's
loved
great.
it. The moving in with
I like how
aunt.
that's how they keep track of distance, how many jars of peanut butter.
well,
since
and
they
then
left.
they used distance, not time, for how long it took to not remember their dad.
Yep, it's about
1,000
about 1,500 miles, and we forgot all about
I
him.
love the beginning was so again, like we
Yeah.
said, it bait and switches you. The beginning
There's
is
a
so much
hopeful
fun.
tone in the
Yeah,
beginning,
But the mom just shifts from being this person where you're like, oh, well, she's doing the best with what she's been given to instantly. I mean, instantly she gets with the king and you're like, what the
Yep.
fuck is wrong?
worships this guy and is blind to literally everything
Well, and
else.
literally blind, right?
Yeah,
There's the bathtub scene, right?
where she's going
she
to like
should
take-
be seeing.
she
It's
should-
right after Mike learns
That's
that
the-
Bobby's injured, right? Because Mike didn't even know yet.
Yeah, no, he had
He
the
had-
nightmare.
like the night before he had seen it. Yeah, because Bobby woke up with the bruises from the nightmare.
Yeah, this is after they go and catch the frogs in the sewer. The mom's like, "Oh, you boys stink. Go get in the bathtub." And she's trying to take Bobby's shirt off, and he's just like, Mike, buddy, help me out."
Well, he'd already promised him the night before,
Yeah.
and like we said, it's all about
It's all about
promises.
keeping those promises. In this
So he
movie.
was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna keep my promise." He jumps in the water, to
all
keep
his
her from
clothes
seeing it.
on.
But again,
That's
all
the
of that,
only time the mom has
all-
tried to give
like,
them a
that's what I was gonna
bath.
say. All of that distracts you because again, it happens
Yeah.
so quick. It distracts you from the fact that that means that this woman, for however many days now, has not been there to
Help him take a
unclothe
bath,
him,
get ready
bathe
for school,
him,
any of this.
get ready for school, dress him for the day. You know, the
He's
things
like
that you
8.
the things you would do with a 7 to 8 year. I have a 7-year-old
Yeah,
child.
you have to help him put his fucking shoes on.
So I don't understand how she would.
It's just Mike's responsibility, I guess. Like, they're like, you're the older brother, you have to take care
I
of him.
guess so, but it's so crazy that even
It's
in
a 60s mentality.
even in
isn't it?
passing, she would do like.
Had to have. The kid never. Well, no, I guess he wouldn't take his shirt off and just run around.
But
would
again,
he?
we do see she is a horrible human being.
Yeah.
Because beyond again, that's neglect. That is a level of neglect
Yeah.
for sure.
She's just so focused on going to work.
And I'll give you the kids again. The kids should never have defended her and kept. They enabled her.
Even
They
adult,
enable her to do this.
Yeah, even adult Tom Hanks makes up excuses for her
because they never tell her any of it, right? Like they never tell her he's always in the garage drunk. Because something tells me if the mom knew that, she wouldn't work at night.
Yeah.
Because she'd be like, "Oh, so
there's
you
a
have-
drunk guy watching my kids?
well,
Fuck no.
he's not even watching.
Yeah, because he's drunk
He's
in the garage.
In the garage, yeah. He's got his own dirty, nasty fridge that he kept outside,
So bad.
full of beer.
Yeah, drinking it by the freaking cake. Because you just go in there and grab
listening to his shitty
the
country
same
music.
one. It's the same song
I know.
every fucking
Listening
time.
to that shitty country
We're
music.
gonna go have a good old time on the bayou.
That's why they all plug their ears. It's because
Oh.
it's supposed to be that song is triggering. to
Yeah,
them
I
at
would
that point.
hate country music. I mean, I do, but like even more.
But yeah, it is the mom is just the levels of insanity for her to keep
Just
doing this.
not
And
notice
then
any of it.
and then to know about it.
Yeah, when she finds out,
once he gets beaten,
damn near to
to-
death, his ribs and shit
yeah.
are all his face is busted. Poor,
well, and we need to address the reason why that one happened because it's the monster, right? Like so, the day they cleaned up the anti-monster stuff, we find out that we find out how he's been beating.
yeah,
him.
it's a power cord, like an extension
An old
cord.
school one where it's like the knobbed
Knobbed
end,
into
that
shit.
hard, thick piece of plastic. And
Yeah.
this is old school. This is probably like that Bakelite
Oh
plastic.
yeah,
that
it
hard.
definitely would have been Bakelite. Dude, that
Yeah,
shit'll
dude.
shatter if you hit it hard enough.
And so yeah, it's insane that this is what he's been using. They
So they
clean
hide
everything
it.
up. He hides it. And dude, like
I get it, but this is a bad spot.
it's a dumb spot.
spot.
Even worst case scenario, I would never have assumed what happened. The
Yeah.
king doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that
Cooks?
cooks, right? So I never
Even
would
to
have
just
expected
heat up
this.
a frozen pizza.
Never would have expected that to happen.
He strikes me as a
But what-
woman. Where's my food?
But what I still would have expected to happen is the mom turn the oven on and him still be there and find out.
Yeah, and be just as pissed. So
Yeah,
next
so
time she goes to work,
At no point does it seem like
hiding the cord in the
it
oven is
was
a good idea.
But yeah, so
I would have put it in the floorboard under the fucking shed with my money.
right, something,
Right?
something.
You know, somewhere the king doesn't know about.
But so, that one leads us to, again, that's when he gets beat that time is because he finds the cord.
It
Yeah,
burns his hand.
Yeah, and he's pissed off. Mike's not there to save him.
Yeah,
so
this
it's
is where Mike
yeah,
is running the
and so
gauntlet
it's
with the football.
Extra bad to Bobby, and it is life or death. Literally, we see him wake up in the hospital.
Wake up.
Mom is
He was unconscious
Mom is
until that
yeah,
point.
Mom is literally like, "I'm so sorry.
He's
I
never-
can't believe it."
I can't believe he would do this. He's never coming back. He's in jail. Cut to 10 minutes later when
Not
she has
even
money
10
problems. Oh,
minutes.
no, I can't
No,
pay for this
no,
nice
dude,
house.
No, the first one's not even the money problems. He calls
Oh,
her
because his mom
collect.
died.
She could have said no.
No, and she
you
accepts
hear
the
her say
charges.
yes. You hear her say yes to accepting the charges. So she knew who it was. Instantaneously, this bitch is doing shit she shouldn't
It's like
have.
2 days later.
It's
Did
out.
it- I bet his
again,
mom didn't even fucking die.
almost. Well, no, for the jail to let him out.
Oh, yeah, that's
remember
true.
they
Yeah,
said
they
they let him
gave
out
him
for like
furlough,
yeah
that's
for a weekend. Yeah.
Long enough.
And
for him
that's
to
when he
get drunk.
shows up. That's when he shows up with the flowers the
Yeah,
first time.
flowers
and the gifts,
and the presents, and starts
fucking
crying like
bullshit.
a little bitch.
Yeah, but so yeah, again, the mom though, that's a level of insanity I can't understand.
I don't
You know, like
understand
they even tried to have her say like, or the kids, my old Mike, as Tom Hanks excusing it. Like,
Yeah, like-
she had to make one of the hardest decisions that she'd ever have to make, and I was like, what
Was it?
hard decision? That seems pretty easy. My child's
Almost
life.
died.
Well, it's just like I can save my child's life.
Or keep the house. Well, not even the house. It was
It's-
his
don't
stupid
even-
truck.
But I don't even know why you keep wording it that way. It doesn't even matter. Even if it was the house, does it matter if you don't have the house if the living person is alive? We don't even got to word it that way. Just say she doesn't have money or keep the kid. I'd rather keep my kid alive. I don't need money.
Yeah.
The house doesn't matter. It was never hers. Because think about it. You have to remember the time period. This
Yeah,
is the
it's
60s.
not in her name.
Her name was never on that paper. So 100% she wasn't worried about keeping the house. She knew she wasn't keeping the house. But again, it should just, like I said, I don't even worry about the house doesn't come into my equation of it. The house, to me, I'm like, that's way after the fact equation. The equation is a live
Live
child, unalive child.
It's a hard choice, man.
To
I mean,
this lady.
That's at least a week's thought. I gotta like talk to my friends. I gotta call my priest.
Well, she didn't
you
even do any of
know,
that.
Consult it with my congressman before I make a big decision like that on whether my fucking 8-year-old dies.
Right? Like I said, so again, I don't even care about the house. That woman is stupid.
Yeah,
dude.
I
Like,
don't really like the mom. in
No,
this
not at
fucking
all,
movie.
man. Like, not at all. She never does anything to redeem herself either.
Mm-mm.
Never. Because even, oh, wait. This actually reminded me of the other psychic moment that neither one of us were
Couldn't
talking about
remember?
earlier. Yeah. The mom. She was at work
Yeah.
the last night. The night they
The
take
night
off
when
in
they're
the
going to
radio
do the
flyer.
fly.
She just dropped everything to leave work and come home. Right? She didn't know yet.
No.
The king definitely didn't call her to say, I got this
No, 'cause
letter that
he's
said
too-
you're, because he
He's-
wanted to stop
he
them himself.
immediately gets in his truck and drives off and shit just falling off of it.
So why did the mom, because think about it.
It's a
Think
good
about how
point.
the scene played out. She didn't just like come home like it was a normal day of work. She came rushing through the door like she knew there was a problem.
Yeah, that's right.
So the
She
mom,
knew something was up.
So the
Everybody in his
that's what-
family
yeah,
is
yeah.
psychic.
the psychicness is throughout. I'm so glad that we got
So-
back here. But you see what?
Yeah.
But yeah. So the
There's a weird metaphysical bullshit
Yeah.
going on here.
back to the mom not redeeming herself though. She never does. Even
No.
when she comes home at the end though. Like right. Again, that was might
No,
have been whatever
she's-
drew her home.
She's all freaking out, tearing apart the fridge. Like, you
And
promised me. Like,
saying
you didn't
the
see
dumbest-
the beer in the fridge?
She is saying the dumbest stuff. Exactly, dude. That's my problem with her. Even then, she's saying the dumbest
How
stuff.
fucking oblivious are you, lady? You didn't. It's not like it was a secret fridge. It's out on your back porch. You didn't bother to go look and
You
be
didn't
like,
empty it?
oh, there's like 2 6-packs in here. I should throw those the fuck away.
Well, especially because by that point,
That was her beer. She has a drinking
no,
problem we haven't
well, maybe they
addressed.
kind of imply that a couple of times. She seems
She
like
does have-
she is having DTs when he wasn't there a couple of
Yeah,
times.
that's
Like
true.
the way she snapped at the kids and shit.
Yeah, that's
So it's
right.
very possible. But it's not even that, dude. It's just that like if there's beer out in the fridge, by that point she had already talked to him.
Yep.
She already knew he was coming home. She already told him he could. Yes, he was there 2 days earlier than she thought, but she knew he was coming back. So if you, as the responsible person in charge of the children, they're not his, regardless of the fact that she
Yeah.
kept telling them to call him dad, which I
Yeah, fuck that.
hated, and they did.
Yeah.
And I know they didn't have control
Choice,
over it,
really.
but goddamn. But yeah, so you know he's coming back. You don't want him to drink. You
Why
don't
is the
take the
beer-
initiative
Yeah, why
to
didn't you get
open the
rid of it?
fridge and look. And again,
I
we
would have
could,
searched that whole fucking house.
he probably bought some on his way home, but I promise you, some was in that fridge still. I promise you, she never opened it to double check
Nope.
because she's stupid. She's so negligent to everything that involves these children.
You deserve to have your youngest son fly away. It's all your fault, you horrible woman. Make better fucking decisions. The adults in this movie suck.
They do.
That's just a 90s
They're
thing.
horrible. Well, except for
The sheriff.
Officer Doherty.
Yeah, the Officer Doherty is a good guy. He knows something's up with the shit in the yard.
When he talks to him, when the little boy says the stuff, right? When he's
Yeah.
like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I just know we have to clean it up or whatever. And
He's
the
like-
way he looked at him,
He's like, do you know who did it? He's like, we don't know, but we have to clean it up before he gets home.
the way his face looked, that dude was right? Like,
he was
he was abused as a kid.
he's been in the same
the
situation.
knowingness of the way he looked
he
at him.
immediately gives him the card like, I will be here if you fucking
You
need
just call me. Which again,
Say shit.
look, and I look, guys.
I know how hard it is, but do it.
I'm 100% an ACAB kind of guy. All cops are bad. All right, I get it.
but
but
if you ain't gonna
Jesus
handle
Christ,
it, if
but
you're
if
not
you-
able to handle it yourself, they're your best option.
They are still an authority. So like sometimes you got to do it, right? And
And they're
again,
pretty trigger
well, and
happy
again,
now. Maybe
well,
you'll get lucky.
And I get it. All cops are bad. ACAB. I
Yeah.
understand. I get it. But at the same time, it was such a telling moment to see the king when when the
very
sheriff
first
showed up
time
the first
showed
time
up
when he
and
was
he
just
just-
inviting them to the neighborhood.
Yep. And
He just instantly
pissed off,
ducked
walks
away,
away.
mad.
He's
It
got
was
a record.
so telling.
He's been in jail before. He
Right?
doesn't want
Like-
that sheriff to know. If they run my fucking name, they're gonna see all my fucking DUIs, my assault charges, all that shit.
Now, I feel like at this point we've fleshed out most of what we need to flesh out. I
Yeah.
think there's one last thing that we have not addressed yet that we need to address, and then we can do the endings and what the different
Yeah.
interpretations people have for more. But the last thing we need to address is on the night that they finally take the radio flyer out, Bobby's gonna leave.
They go to get some gas.
And they run into again. They've seen him the whole movie.
Yeah,
We've seen him a few
you've seen
times.
him a few times. He like gives
You
some
even can
bottles.
see he's got
and
the
shit
bad
when-
leg.
Yeah, you can see
earlier
him
in the
limp
movie
and
too,
shit,
yeah.
right?
But yeah, they
he's
go
limping up with the bottle to give it to
they
him.
go to the gas station so that way they can buy the gas to run the radio flyer. And as they're doing it, the gas station attendant starts to look at him, and he's
He
figuring
knows.
it out. He knows what's going
He's
on.
like, y'all are gonna go do something.
And so he looks at Bobby and he goes, "Just let me give you a piece of advice. When you get to the bottom, you can't be afraid," or whatever he said. I
He's
don't
like,
even remember
yeah,
exactly what
hang
he
on, I
said.
remember. If there's anything left over when you're halfway down, you've got a chance. But don't pull up when you hit the ramp. It's
Yeah.
too steep. You'll stall out.
Which is funny because he did this on a bicycle.
Yeah,
None
right.
of
I'm
that
like, what
applies to
engine
what
did
he
fu-
did.
He is the engine.
Right? I don't know. But it's very funny. None of it
was.
applies to what he did.
He went back later and tried it with his own like handmade plane.
But the main reason I want to obviously we want to point it out because he is Fisher,
He's
and that like we
Fisher.
said, it was so cool to bring the legend.
I like
back,
the
right?
reveal because he had the towel
ta-
over the name tag. And
Well,
he
how
pulls
about
it
even the
off.
reveal when they go to the wishing spot the first time, right? Fisher's Landing. The handwritten sign out
I like
there.
that sign. It's like somebody shot it with BBs to make
Was it
the
the little kids to make
Yeah.
it fun? It was the
I wanna
kids,
make a
the
sign
neighborhood
like that.
kids. But yeah, so we needed to talk about that because it brings
It
kind of
brings the
it all
whole
full
legend
circle.
around.
But he is also, since we know that he was 14 when it happened, it's been, they tell us, but if we assume everything they told us is true, he is an adult, fully adult now, right?
Yeah.
So Fisher is also the only other adult who gives a knowing nod to the domestic violence,
Yeah.
right? Because he didn't actually start telling him about the right way to take the hill until they were stumbling over trying to tell him why they
Why they were
wanted to
doing it.
do it.
Yeah.
And so it was almost like he was like,
Ah, I'm gonna help you
which
out.
also goes back to the we get to tell our own stories, because was there a connection
Yeah,
to
well,
that kind of thing with
what was Fisher's reason
why
for doing it?
Fisher
Wanted to fly away.
risked his life type jump on a bicycle?
We need to investigate Fisher's dad.
So again, it's a very cool like full circle moment
Yeah.
that really like encapsulates the whole like the theme overarching in the
thing.
movie. Yeah. On that note, though, I think we can officially get to what is the heart. Again, domestic violence is horrible and it's hard to talk about, but we want to start talking about the interpretations on what the ending for this movie can be.
All right.
They're not even. They get worse than that. Some of them they get dark quick. Now, but I do have a beacon of light for us.
Okay, good.
At the end of us talking about all these different ones.
Well, the ending they give us,
Yeah, you hit us with the what we see.
it works. The flyer flies. He has a little bit of a problem where he has to hit the auxiliary propeller things.
The Cox
engines. I thought that was some funny shit. He's like, quick, hit the Cox
I was
engines.
like, they made a Harrier jet?
It worked.
It did. It worked.
flew
It was
off.
good. It was
But he flies away, and the mom and the sheriff show up and arrest the dad.
He's-
And they're like, where's Bobby? He's like, he's over there. He's flying over the airport.
Mike's speech to his mom, though, also leads to the ambiguousness, right?
He's right there, Mom.
Well, after he's right there.
Yeah.
He told me he couldn't deal with this anymore and he needed to go to a place where he wouldn't have to.
Yep.
What does that sound like?
Because he's very dead and he's
right?
in
What does that sound like? But again, we're not even to that. So the real the visual interpretation is
He
literally
makes it.
he makes it. He
He
survives.
flies off to Buffalo Geronimo's.
Geronimo Bill.
Yeah, there it is.
And his buffalo.
And his buffalo.
And sends the first postcard. And then supposedly sends more the rest of his life.
He just keeps flying around the world.
Now that will just go into the second interpretation, right? Now the second interpretation it's like a double branched interpretation, but either way it ends with Bobby being dead, right?
That thing crashed.
Well, it's
he's
one of
dead
two.
now.
It's one of two ways, right? It's
Yeah.
either that thing crashed and Bobby's dead, or Bobby actually died during the big beatdown.
Yeah, the first
He never made the
beating.
hospital.
Yeah.
Everything from the hospital on was Mike trying to
cope with the fact that his brother is now dead.
right? And so this is one of those
That's
things.
way dark, though.
Remember, I've got a beacon of light at the end. I mainly point that out to you because I'm about to really fuck with your head. Okay. So there is proof in the movie, visual proof, that Bobby was definitely dead before they ever did the radio flyer.
Really?
Again, and this is supposed to be a movie that's ambiguous, but there's visual proof. When they loaded up the radio flyer, Shane got rewarded because he tried to save him. So he got to go too. Who else went with him?
Samson.
And he was loaded in the radio flyer, right?
But then how did Tom Hanks's kids end up with
Samson
Samson
later?
So
literally, for the kids to have Samson, it means that A, the flyer didn't leave, and B, the flyer didn't crash and die there, which only leaves Bobby died during the big beat.
No, I don't like that. No, I don't want to.
It's okay. We're done with that. We're done with the negative.
Like
We're done with all the negative. Because like I said, those two branches are both of the negative. Either way, Bobby didn't make it in the negative. In the negative multiverse,
for all you
Bobby didn't make it
out there.
Right? In the happiest, well, in a happy one, we get what we saw on screen, right?
Yep.
Now, this is the kicker. Because I've already told you that the writer wrote this darker.
But it did have a much nicer
But
ending.
it had a guaranteed ending, not ambiguous. Richard Donner, who was supposed to make this for families, decided to put in the ambiguous ending.
Leave it open.
Which is insane. Insane move on his part.
Have done that.
Because the original written ending and what the guy was going to use if he got to still be the director for the whole thing was that instead of the whole flashback story, instead of being told to us from Tom Hanks out on an airfield,
Yeah.
it was being told to us through him at the Smithsonian with his kids for the day. Yeah? They're just
Yeah.
walking through the museum. The last thing that you see is him and his kids looking up, and then a figure, Bobby. Walking up beside Tom Hanks, looking up with them, and us seeing the radio flyer
Hanging
in
in the
the Smithsonian, because it's famous, because this is real. This
Why
did
couldn't
happen.
that have been the end? That's a much better ending. We could have done the entire movie the exact same way, but just done that ending. It would have been way better.
I mean, I agree, dude. Like,
Go
so
back
again,
and smack Richard Donner. It's all his fault.
And it's insane. It's insane.
Why would he? He's like the family movie guy. Why
The
would he do
Goonies.
this?
He's the
Yeah, why?
Goonies.
Like happy ending.
Well, and the most insane part to
He's
me,
in a bad mood that day.
I don't know.
guess?
The most insane part to me is, again, I get that other scenes were going to be darker. So apparently, there were going to be other dream sequence type things, like how the buffalo and some of those other things. There were going to be more stuff like that, and they were going to be more horror related, like how we
That
saw.
makes sense. They watch horror movies.
Well,
and
well,
shit.
like how we saw the turtle, like you said,
Yeah.
the first time we saw Samson,
giant.
he looked crazy, and then we see they thought Shane was the Wolfman the one time, right? Remember?
Yeah, in the window.
Yeah. So it was going to be more stuff like that. So there's going to be like a little bit of a
Would've been
darker,
fine.
like in the background type
That would have been
vibe,
fine.
but there was still going to be a happy
Ending, right? Guaranteed happy ending, which is what I want in a fucking family movie.
And Richard Donner, the man who actually, well, again, remember the original guy didn't want this to be a
I
family
know
movie.
that's what's nuts about it.
But then the guy who they brought in
To make it one,
said, "Fuck that
fuck your
noise.
family movie ending. I'm gonna leave this open ended.
You guys figure it out."
And I'm a heartless cynic, so the kid died.
Well, exactly. He left multiple hints that one blatant.
Yeah,
because like I said,
blatant one.
Samson makes it definitive, right?
Yeah, that-
like I told
that
you,
bothered
that
me.
Samson being alive at the end literally only makes one possible outcome, and it's not a good one.
Maybe you just bought a new turtle.
Yeah, but he promised his kids, and the whole point of the movie is you don't.
But
don't-
But they're not
you-
adults, and they don't know that you have to do that sometimes.
No, but that's not the point of the
I
movie.
know.
The point of the movie is that it doesn't matter how old you are,
I
you
know.
don't break a promise, and he promised them. They asked specifically, "Do you promise?"
I can't make him a hypocrite right at the very end, like in the last 2 seconds,
No.
just completely ruin the entire arc
when
of the
o-
movie.
Not when the only reason he told them this horrible, gut-wrenching story in the first place was to
'Cause they
prove
wouldn't
that
share a
you
toy.
can't break a promise.
You promised him he could play with your toy airplane,
So
and now
if-
I will destroy your entire
If the whole
day.
reason this traumatic event got told to them in the first place was because you don't break promises, then no, that motherfucker better not be lying about his promise that is Samson.
I think he does this all the time. Anytime he hears like somebody like
That he
say
hits him
you
with a
promise, and he's
grief-stricken
at
story.
work and he's just like, "I'm gonna tell you why you should keep that promise to give
Let me
somebody
tell you
the
about my
muffin.
brother.
I'm gonna tell you about my brother who may or may not have
Well,
died
and-
horribly."
Now, and again, for the visual story, it's fine, right?
Yeah.
Like, for the visual story we got, he caps it out with, and in the beginning tells us that the kids know who Uncle Bobby is. And that's fine if we think that what we saw is true, right? Like
Yeah.
that
He
Bobby
made it.
made it and is sending postcards. Yes, they've never met Bobby, but they
But they
do
get
know
the
that
occasional
they-
postcard.
They know that they have an Uncle Bobby.
Yeah.
But then start to think about the world where Bobby didn't make it, and it's all a figment of his head, and he started the conversation with, "You guys remember what I told you about Uncle Bobby?"
It's all bullshit.
That's uncomfortable. Well, no, not even that. Like, what if they do know the real story, and he's just like, "You guys remember what I've told you about Uncle Bobby?" And you're just like, "Oh, so you just made this uncomfortable for these kids in the middle of the day?" You guys remember your dead uncle, right? Let me
Here's
tell
how
you
I
some
want to
stories,
remember it.
right? Like, this is how I would like to believe it happened.
Yep. Here's my head canon, real quick.
But so again, that's my other point, though, right? We get Richard Donner brings in the definite Samson clue, which, like I said, it leads us to the darkest of all universes.
Super dark.
But beyond that, he is also the one then that put in the end old Mike, giving us the weird. Now you guys understand why I
It's
told
important
you
to keep your promises.
Well, not even that. The why I told you. Whoever tells the story writes the history of it.
History's written by the victor.
Right. Well, because that saying that to the kids right after
Of course-
finishing the
Well, of
story
course they look at him and go,
implies
no.
because that implies that what you just told them isn't true, right?
Yeah, right.
You would never say that to the kids if what you told them was the truth. You would only say that if what you told them was a lie,
like,
and
all
you're
right.
like, it makes me feel better to believe that.
It's like, okay,
So it's like Richard.
am I supposed to believe you anything you
Right.
just said to me, Dad?
It's like Richard Donner wanted an ambiguous ending, but then actually made it as concrete as he could, right? Like in an insane way. I don't know. That man is.
he took the opportunity to deal with some of his own fucked up
I
trauma,
have
I guess.
no idea. And this is one of those
That's
moments.
why we don't project people.
I don't have the exact quote, but this is like, Ebert is famous for like some of the things he has said about a movie when he's finished. And sometimes
Yeah,
you see
sometimes
people
he
direct
just goes
quotes of
hard,
what he
too.
says, right? This is one of the movies that he went hard about. And I agree with everything he says, despite the fact that I do like he did not like the movie at all. There was no redemption to him.
He's
To me, the fun parts are redeeming to some of the others. There is a good story that is being told and admits the craziness,
he's
right?
probably sitting there and just be like, they're playing outside.
Oh, but now you'll hear it and you'll be like, oh goddamn, that man. Because it's a slap you in the face kind of like you don't think about it because you're so busy thinking about some of the other shit in this movie. So he was like, look, again, and you guys, I'm paraphrasing the fuck out of this because I did not write down what he wrote. But so he basically was like, look, this movie is the kind of movie that I can't stand behind because at the end, I could see it coming to a point where obviously we had to make our decision how we wanted the story to end, right? He's like, and I can't stand behind either of those endings. Fuck them for either one they want me to believe. Because in his head, the canon endings is going to be that he's dead or that he survived. And so he goes, fuck them if they want me to think he died, because what the fuck did I just sit through?
Right. That's depressing as
Right?
fuck.
And he said, and then the second ending they want me to believe is that we should be telling children that if you're suffering through domestic abuse,
just fly away. It'll all be
just
okay.
fly away. That you can just magically fly away from the pain.
You got a wagon and some bolts and access to a lawnmower engine. Just build a plane.
That's not
That's
not the
You'll
thing.
escape all of your worries.
That's not what we tell a kid. I gotta give Ebert though. He is.
Yeah, he's right. That is fuck both your endings.
Either way.
Yeah, either way.
Well, and it's so funny because like the movie ends and we do see the hotline number, right? Like 1-800 domestic abuse, right? Like,
yeah, it's like, oh,
and so
thanks.
it's like, oh shit. And again, like,
was this all just a PSA?
Well, imagine though, it's a horrible PSA because just
Yeah,
like
what the
Ebert
fuck?
said, like, how is your PSA like? How do you put that up after you already told the kid
just
you
fly
can
away.
fly away home?
Just fly away. It'll be fine.
What the fuck? That's the wrong message.
Call this number if you need help building your escape airplane.
I still think the movie stands up.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
It is a good movie.
It's entertaining.
Be
It's got the
ready for
feel-good
what
movie.
it is.
It does this like roller coaster. Bit.
Yes,
They're super like, this is so much fun, and
then you hit with some
zhooom
And so
down.
again, it's a movie. Don't get me wrong. It's hard to make a movie like reality because of things like this, right? Because it's hard to, when you adjust, it's hard to like not over adjust to a way where it's like, well, you're just doing that because it was good, right? I think the movie does a pretty good job though. Like of like riding that line of these are real. Like these kids had a great day, but that great day got capped off with some fucked up shit
at the end.
Right? Like, and I think that's awesome. But again, even beyond that, like I keep saying, the happy times are so happy in this movie, right?
Just skip past it. Just like keep the finger
Well, like
on
we
the
said,
fast forward button.
fast
Go take
forward.
make a sandwich. Do something.
Take your dog for a walk.
Whenever you see fucking Adam Baldwin's character, just
dip
fuck
out.
off.
Just
fuck
dip
off
out
for like 3-4 minutes.
Disassociate for all I care. I mean, you can
stare
sit in
at
the
the
room.
ceiling.
Yeah. Just don't pay attention. And then you have the perfect prequel for The Sandlot.
You really do. I like this movie.
I think it was great. What do you think about this beer?
This beer was good. I've almost finished mine.
Well, it's again, like we said, it's a red. It's an American lager, so I don't think it's the same as like Irish red, right? Like,
Yeah, no,
because
it's
that's an
definitely-
ale, not
yeah.
a lager. I think. Again, us trying to sound like experts.
So, oh yes, I know exactly what I'm talking about.
I will give its color. It's definitely
Yeah,
like
it's
that though.
very
That is
nice
definitely like
amber
if you would have
color.
poured that in and told me it was an Irish red,
Yeah, I would have believed you.
I would have 100%
Wouldn't have
just said
argued.
okay. It's got that color for
I
sure.
feel like I should look what makes an Irish
And I
red
do
an
know
Irish
when
red.
we first took the first couple of sips, we were like, "Oh, it's just beer, right?"
Yeah.
I feel like at this point though, like I taste a little bit of something that's when I
There's a
drink just
weedy
when I drink
flavor.
beer that's just beer,
Yeah.
right? Like mass produced beers. By the time I get to like a couple in, it's just like water.
Yeah, I
I'm not
don't
paying
taste
attention.
nothing.
I can taste stuff.
Yeah,
now.
there's
I think it was just that it was
caramely
so
notes and
like
shit.
normal beer in the beginning, like forward, right?
Yeah.
That in the beginning it was just like that's all we noticed. But yeah, dude, the longer I've sat here, I've been like, I don't know what that is, but I like it. I like it
this.
exactly.
So,
I'm
good
not.
job, Warped Wing Brewing Company.
Well, I'm glad that they did such a good job because that is a perfect point for us to say, Bo, why don't you go ahead and tell them what we're drinking next time?
This was completely by accident. We noticed this when we sat down to record, but we got another one from Warped Wing. Gamma Bomb India Pale Ale from the exact same company, completely unintentional, but they're getting a huge shout out this month.
And like we said, guys, one of the
No
new
more
changes, no game. So
We're just gonna tell you the movie. What do you like? It's gamma radiation. You got to do the Incredible Hulk, right?
and we're doing the
We're doing
original.
the Eric Bana. Oh, good one. Fight me.
Well, dude, I like it. It's way more comic booky.
Yeah, it is.
It's definitely gonna be a fun one. But on that note, guys, again, this all has been done in hopes of being shorter and more fun and more. You guys actually see our personality.
Yeah.
We hope this is working. If not,
Let us know, please.
But we are definitely
Comment, subscribe, like, tell us we suck, tell us we're awesome.
Let
do
us
all
know.
the good stuff.
But that is definitely the end of this one.
Think Jack would let us put him in a wagon and see if he'll fly?
Shane, come back, Shane. Like